Thanks so much for joining us today to talk about something very, very important to us. That is our HDMI matrix systems, 4x4 and 8x8 with 4K, 18 gigabit per second support, HDR. They're basically been our bread and butter category for the existence of the entirety of KeyDigital's existence as a predominant AV, HDMI, and digital video signal management company. So being that it has been our bread and butter, if you're new to an HDMI matrix switcher, what does this product do for you? You're going to use a matrix switch anytime you have multiple video sources and multiple video displays, and you want those video sources to be able to be routed to those connected video displays at any time and in any combination. Why would you use a matrix switch? Well, if we look at this picture here with a simple 4x4 matrix, you can see that any of these displays can view the cable box, SAT1, SAT2, the Blu-ray DVD player, the Apple TV. And that doesn't, so what that means is that at each of these video displays, to view this kind of content, you would need 3 boxes per display. So in other words, we're taking 12 video sources and enabling the user to bring that down to 4 total video sources. And another reason why you would use an HDMI matrix switch is you just need a single cable going to each of those displays, a single HDMI. Now we also have audio de-embedding, so we are showing, just for demonstration purposes here, the optical audio going to the display. But of course, here at KeyDigital, we have a variety of products like HDMI extenders. So if you wanted to send HDMI AV plus external audio plus IR or RS-232 control, you could do that over a single network cable, for example, a cat wire, using one of our extenders. So let's look a little more closely at the 4x4 and the 8x8, which are our traditional HDMI matrix systems. When we go beyond 8x8, typically then we start looking at AV over IP. So it's for those systems that are a little smaller that we don't want to go with AV over IP quite yet. So here's the 4x4 version. It is called KDMS 4x4G-2. And we could see the feature set. You can route 4 HDMI sources to 4 displays. Independent external audio routing. We're going to show you that in more detail. As mentioned already, it supports 4K resolutions, UHD and 4K up to 18 gigabits per second. It has HDCP 2.2 support. There's KeyDigital full buffer technology, which means that you, the integrator, can choose your EDID handshake to go to each source. Every input and output has HDCP keys so that it can authenticate the sources in the displays. It can repair the AV signal with the TMDS AV reclocking feature, so that if you have long length cables, extenders, etc., you're going to have no problems going with these products. USB and IP configuration, IR, RS-232, TCP/IP, and the web UI control, and it's also app ready. So we're going to give you a lot of varieties for controlling, a variety of options for controlling these matrix switchers. And now I want to show you what the 8x8 has. Take a look at that feature set. Boom, identical. The only difference between the 4x4, 8x8 being the quantity of inputs and outputs, of course. Now, for those of you that have been following our product line for some time, you might say, what are the new features? Because this model, KDMS 8x8G-2, and just as we saw before, I'll take a step back, MS 4x4G-2, matrix switch, 4x4 and 8x8, G for 18 gigabit per second bandwidth, but the -2 indicates this is the second generation of these products. And it basically boils down to 3 main features why we updated the hardware from the last generation. Number 1 is the optical audio de-embedding. Previously, the digital audio de-embed was on a RCA, a PCM connector for digital audio. Now we're giving it to you on optical, making it a little easier to integrate into most sound bars. They've chosen that connectivity as demonstrated in that first application example that we saw earlier in the slide. A second feature for the Dash 2 products is this service USB port. It is a USB micro that we include in the box that you can use to connect your Windows computer into the matrix, open up the KeyDigital management software, as we'll show you here, and you could go in and immediately set the IP address, set the input and output names, adjust the EDID handshaking, and more. So it's a quicker setup for you installers. And the third is, which is probably perhaps the greatest impact, is Web UI on both the 4x4 and the 8x8. You can type in the IP address in your web browser. So that could mean on your cell phone, bookmark it, on your tablet, on your computer, and you can control your AV routing. We'll show you some more examples of that Web UI here shortly. So those are really the main three features for the Dash 2 model. And as you've seen here, all the connectivity up close. Let's now look at the key features and benefits to these products. Well, first of all, as I mentioned, the independent AV routing. So here, what we're looking at is a typical residential scenario where you have one display per zone. And typically you want to, whatever you're watching on the television, you want to listen to, whether it be on your sound bar as we're depicting here, or perhaps in your distributed audio system in the rack. And so we have a command that allows you to switch audio and the external, the HDMI AV plus the external audio ports together. And that is our basic HDMI switching command that we've implemented in all of our matrix switchers for the past 14 years now. And you notice I say HDMI AV and external audio together. So the HDMI, even though we are de-embedding the audio at the audio connection points there on the matrix, the HDMI connection still always sends audio and video. Now, here's the other use for this very convenient independent matrix switching, audio and HDMI port matrix switching. What about those applications like a room combined in a ballroom, for example, where you have room A, you have room B. Each of those rooms has a projector, perhaps a second cart that may be on wheels, or however that may be a second display that may be on a cart with wheels, or however that may be connected. Well, here, what you're able to do is when you do your switching of just the HDMI AV only, now those audio de-embed ports can be routed so that audio out 1 is constantly providing the audio from source 1. Audio out 2 is constantly providing the audio from source 2. Audio out 3 constantly providing the audio from source 3, and audio out 4 constantly providing the audio of source 4. And so with this kind of application, you could see how you could go into either, whether it be an old school mixer with analog knobs or digital signal processor, so that all of those connected sources that may not have external audio connections can go ahead and feed into the audio system, so you can have a variety of audio sources playing through your mixer, for example. Another cool feature that is on these products is, because HDMI matrix switching is more affordable than ever, and we have this great feature of independent audio routing that could be accessed now easier than ever. I'm talking about houses of worship and churches where they may not have a dedicated control system, or we do show you the Web UI now, so that could go just about everywhere, and it is password protected, I should mention. But what about those applications where the user just wants to press the buttons? You can select in the setup via KeyDigital management software, or by sending a line string command, you could determine what is the functionality of those buttons. Is it switching HDMI AV plus the external audio? Does it switch HDMI AV only, or does it switch the external audio only? And as I mentioned, you're going to use KeyDigital management software to provide a graphical interface for your setup making it easy, setting your IP addresses, setting the HDMI handshake to each video source. So yes, it is independent HDMI handshake selection per video source. You could utilize our built-in troubleshooting tools like activating the forced hot plug detection per output. You could turn on debug mode to adjust your HDCP handlings, and you can provide input, output, and device naming so that when you open the KeyDigital app or the web UI, you could see the name of the device in case you had multiple matrix switchers on your network, which is perhaps something more common in a corporate environment or in a educational environment. Sometimes they have a matrix switch per room in conference rooms and boardrooms, for example. We could see the device name, which is actually demo AV matrix 8x8, as we showed it there at the top. We could see the input and output name. So it's not simply input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it gives a much more user-friendly graphical user interface there. Plus, we see the ability to mute, the HDMI and external audio outputs. And then finally, the web UI. Here's what the web UI looks like. At first, when you enter that IP address of the unit, it'll go to the username and password page. You enter that in correctly, which can be adjusted in the unit on KDMS, for example, and you are able, and the web UI, and then you are able to control your routing, utilize these tabs here to choose if you want to route HDMI AV plus the external audio together, HDMI AV only, or external audio only. And then you could even enter that gear icon there to go ahead and update some of the settings if need be. So we showed a few typical application examples earlier. Let's take a look at this one here, another ballroom where we see integration with our HD-Base-T transmitter wall plate with receivers so that you can have a variety of HDMI, USB-C, DisplayPort, variety of interface options for connecting user laptops and devices. And then we also have our wireless presentation for the West and East ballrooms. Integrated, we're using the audio de-embed ports to feed a DSP from one of our device manufacturers. And we have our Compass control system working to control the routing, the displays, the projectors, and the audio DSP. Similarly here, we have an 8x8 matrix, and in this multi-purpose gymnasium, they've decided that they have a large LED display or projector, and they want to be able to view more than one thing at a time on it. So we take 4 of the 8 outputs to feed our multi-view video processing matrix to create that really cool layout where they're viewing more than one, they're viewing up to 4 video sources at a time. And we have the other 4 displays watching any of those 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connected video sources into the system. So hopefully that gets some ideas going, those creative juices flowing a little bit about how you could use our matrix switches. And it's typically not just a matrix, right? You have this full assortment of extenders for inputs and outputs, wireless presentation options, and control options, all available to you under the KeyDigital roof. But don't forget, we also play well with others thanks to our open API. So if you have any more questions about acquiring or how to use the KeyDigital matrix switches we showed in this video, you'll want to direct those inquiries to sales@keydigital.com.